Good morning, everybody. Awesome. GM. Glad you're all here. Let's get this party started. And my echo, sorry. Too excited to start with you. All right. GM, everybody, welcome to Takeoff Tuesday. Glad you're all here. We've got some work to do. A few more of these people in here. Awesome. All right. Takeoff Tuesday. GM, let's get to work. We got an awesome Invest Edge from yesterday, so go and check that out on the Renatus Opportunity YouTube channel. And yes, super excited about what we got going on. Let's see, I don't need this and I don't need this. Let's go over the quote of the day. Is it gonna load? There we go. So on those who work forces, here we go. Zoom, share. All right, there's also a new Renatus, creative acquisitions promo up top here. And here we go. So congrats to Richard Stock for being in the #1 position. And we have Anna Zeppenfelt from the Virginia team. She is in #2. Well done. Mitch Maley Nelson coming in #3. We have Tracy Grenny in the #4 position. Marion Seta, #5. Scott Green, #6. Nate and Becky Lambert in the #7 position. Debbie's in the #8. Aaron in #9. Well done to you. And Mr. Brian Dodge coming in at #10. So we got coast to coast around here. Exciting week. I know there's some new faces on here. So well done. Yep, it's working. When you focus, it'll work. Okay, so your quote of the day here was by none other than Dolly Parton. She says, if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader. And that's what we do here, folks. Our actions create a legacy that inspires people to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more. Isn't that the case? I know everyone on here that is being recognized for their top 10 are taking actions that inspire others to dream and do and become more. So look at all these beautiful leaders out here. Okay, excellent. So some of you that only show up to Takeoff Tuesday, great to see you. The countdown is continuing. Just a real quick reminder about how to get your dedicated website out in the world, get it working for you so that people can register under your name. You will go to the calendar. You're going to go click on clear filters. Okay, now we'll just, because normally there's the state by default. So clear the filters, head on over to October. Scroll down and click on the first one. Now this top one, because there's two, this one is the general admission ticket. Okay, right now, $197. Share, copy URL. This share button up here is your friend. And you'll copy the URL. Okay. Then when you go to paste, it's going to have a short code. As soon as you hit enter, it's going to do the redirect long code. Whichever one you send is going to still work, but it's just more visually pleasing to have the short code. Okay, then to verify that it's really me and it's my link, my name is up top. Here's where you can also, the easiest way to send out this video, other than download it and send it by itself, Then a reminder that the early bird discount expires on September 24th and will go up 25%. Right? $50 on 200 is 25%. So it'll go up 25% as we get closer. You don't want to miss out on this. So a couple new things. We're going to have Garrett Gunderson here at this one. You definitely want to hear from him. And then, of course, we got some tried and true. I'm so grateful that Jeff Armstrong is now a part of this. The way he thinks about banking, business, finance, notes, and structuring these things is one reason why I was able to buy my big piece of land. He taught me how to structure seller financing with subject to and life insurance. And because of those things, one idea from him, I made $350,000. So I send that guy thanks several times a year. And then, of course, Nancy and Eric Counts, a dedicated duo with the funding, credit nerds, smart system. There's a ton to learn from them. We got Bill Predebon, Umair Hawk, some of our newest instructors, but not new to real estate by any means. And they just keep getting better. Then we got Troy Dunn. This guy is top notch. I got his book called Family, the Good F Word. And there's some good stuff in there. Okay, so anyway, excited about Troy Dunn. And then Dan Cregan. This guy blew my mind at the last one. I had no idea about the level of flexibility and I would say like non-stigma around bankruptcy. Guy's incredible. But you got to know how to defend yourself in case things go sideways or get a little shaky. And then, of course, we got Cloud, Snyder, Stark, Albin, and the big boss, Mr. Bob Snyder. Okay, so get your link. There is also a VIP link. So come back to calendar, clear filter, over to October, scroll down, and then the VIP ticket. Now remember, these are limited seating. So, and these are $500, but you do get each day lunch will be provided if you got the VIP ticket. Each day at the lunch is going to be networking with the instructors from the day. So networking is a major key. Remember, network is your net worth. I would encourage you, everybody, I'm just thinking about this now, how, the angle that's been for me so far is I've just been telling people it's $500. I don't tell them it's a VIP necessarily. I do my best to make sure everyone feels like a VIP when they buy a ticket from me. But what I've been telling people and what I'm going to push for is that the ticket is $500. And then once I've confirmed they really want to come, they're qualified, but they don't have 500, then we will get them a discounted $200 ticket. But I want them to have the VIP experience. I want them to go through all of that so that when it comes time, when Bob hits the pitch and gives the offer and shows them the price and the package, that for them, it's an undeniable, yes, I'm in. And that will be, some of you, if you follow the process and use this E3 Summit the way it was designed, you're going to see some people at the Saturday night party, and you're going to tell them, I just had a $20,000 weekend. And they're going to say, no way, me too. Can I get you a chocolate milk? You're going to go to the bar. You'll get yourself a chocolate milk or a hot cocoa. You'll see another ICM over there and you go, hey. And they'll go, guys, I just had a $30,000 weekend. And then someone over there is going to be eating their dinner and they're going to say, guys, I just had a $50,000 weekend. Because we focused on marketing and focused on others, not just us coming to an event, but helping others see real estate, entrepreneurship, community. It's the best way forward, especially with how much money they want to print, how much they want to debase the currency, how much they want to goof around with the tax system in this country. You need real estate no matter what. So let's get that message out there. Let's go make a difference. Speaking of making a difference, I'm excited to jump into today's training, Takeoff Tuesday with Mr. Bill Predebon. And for those of you who haven't got to interact with him much, Tuesdays are a treat. We absolutely enjoyed Tuesdays. You get a little raw, unfiltered entrepreneurship training. One thing I love about Bill is he doesn't hold back. One thing entrepreneurs need is real-time, accurate info. And unfortunately, in the job world, and the normie world, and the clown world, too many people never say what they mean. The truth doesn't get out, and value isn't exchanged at the same rate. So when Bill talks, everybody listens because he lives his best life ever. He's having fun. He's building a portfolio. He does what he wants. He is a free thinker. He makes a positive difference to a lot of people. So it's not just about the money. But is one thing I admire about him is that he loves people and uses money. Not the other way around. That's the Renatus culture here, is love people and use the money. So when you look around and you see, who should I take advice from? The answer is people who are producing a result you want. So when we look around what Bill's doing, he's doing short sales, he's doing fix and flips, he's doing lease options, wholesaling, new construction. Thank you, sweetie. Short-term rentals, long-term rentals, developments, subdivisions, seller financing, commercial deals. The guy's got a wealth of knowledge, breadth and depth. So as we go through today's training, remember to ask questions, participate. You can come off mute. You can type them in the chat. We'll get you the answers you're looking for, the guidance, and some ideas that can point you in the right direction, help you achieve your dreams faster. So let's give a big warm welcome to the man of the hour, Mr. Bill Predebon. Good morning, GM from the lake. How are you? He is not ready. Coming off the jet skis. All right, in the meantime, hey, will you climb down, please?
No, I'm here.
Oh, there he is, GM.
Just couldn't get my buttons clicked.
Awesome. Do you want to say GM to Bill? You say GM? Say GM.
Slave labor. Good morning, everybody.
Look at those beautiful kids.
Oh, yes. Beautiful, happy, healthy, healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were there some hands that went up? Some questions? I thought I saw a couple hands, but
Just some claps. Some people saying,
claps.
Bill's here.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Woo! Thanks for the intro, Mike. Thanks for doing this. Good to have you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Tamara's note takers here. There's Steve. Hello, guys and girls and ladies and gentlemen. Right on. Any thoughts, comments, questions? Oh, there's a little Chippy. He comes by every day to say hello. We had a nice thunderstorm last night. Interesting weather. Yeah, lake life is good. I still work though. I mean, I got a little more time before I work. I do have a topic I'm going to address, but it's really not as related to marketing as I want it to be. So I'm going to try to spin it in that direction. But before we get started, does anybody have any questions for Mike, Michael, Mr. Michael Money, Michael for E3, you guys and girls? Obviously, we're pushing that. Let us know if it falls on deaf ears. I don't really know what that means, but I can only imagine. If you're opposed to it, or I mean, Eric has a question. Go ahead. You got a question, E?
Yeah, I do. Thank you for the call, man. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, with the E3, the promo video that they're using on the websites or the links, normally they do a shared video. Is that is that somewhere else in the back office? I was trying to find it in the marketing tab, or is that going to be shareable?
I'll look real quick. It should be shareable in the video assets. video library.
Okay. Oh, I didn't look at that spot. Okay.
Let's see, got it loading right here. Bill, did you like your intro song today?
I didn't hear it.
Oh,
Was
okay.
it? There was any music playing?
Yeah, it was Rage Against the Machines, Killing in the Name of.
I don't think I heard it. Maybe it
Yeah,
was just
you remind me of someone who rages against the machine.
There you go.
So, video library, Eric, right here. Then we got our share button.
I see you now. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, buddy.
So where I was going with that is obviously Michael has an agenda um, in training on the E3, right? And the value. He's got some inside information being on the pack and helping develop this event and design it, create it, shape it, and understands what it's there for, the purpose of it. So he's trying to relay that message. But a lot of us, if you think about it, um, when you first came to Renatus, there's an agenda, there's a purpose, and a lot of us have our own, you know, bias. We have our own opinion. We have our own agenda. We truly think that we know what we want and what we need to do and that sort of thing. So when someone's trying to sell us something or enroll us in something or tell us about something or encourage us to do something, we're not really paying attention because it's not on our radar, right? It's not part of our agenda. So if E3 is not your agenda on your agenda and then you're just kind of listening and playing along versus engaging and or at least um, uh, you know, at least entertaining the idea, then again, it falls on deaf ears, right? So I was just seeing if anybody had any comments, questions. There's a few months out that we have time to address those things and create value around it, and perhaps change your mind or enlighten you or even end up solidifying the fact that you don't want to have anything to do with it. You know what I mean? Which is your prerogative and obviously an option. Um, but we're spending a lot of time on it, and we intend to be a part of it. Normally, you know, uh, I'm training at it or speaking at it for a reason, right? There's not just so I could be up on stage. It doesn't do me any good. I don't get paid to do it. It's not like that. Um, so it's something I believe in, and it also will encourage me to do marketing for it, right? Which is what I'm developing with a few others to create some momentum there. So does anybody have anything? I don't know if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like hopefully all 20 of us that are on this call, Monday, Tuesday, and possibly even Wednesday. I don't usually join Wednesday, but um although I used to, I did it for years. I listened 5 days a week. But what was I saying? If all of us are on the call, and you're participating, then maybe you all are 100% on board and you're considering, inviting guests to this event, then great. That makes sense. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts, comments, questions. A lot of people are also, in a position where you can't get off the phone or get on the phone. I'm off mute, so totally fine too. All right.
Remember that the motivation behind this is multidimensional. It's not just make money or pay off your education or find a networking group to do a deal. Those are all perfect motivators and will be sufficient, but something that pushes it beyond is the difference it makes in people's lives. Right? Like if you really go back and look at how you got affected because someone went and marketed, it's undeniably how valuable it is, right? I saw an ad in the newspaper in 2010 that was a 1 inch by 1 inch ad with like 0.5 font. It was tiny. It's a miracle I found it. So the value that you get to induce into someone's life through this process is the third profit that comes from this activity. So now that prices are at an all-time high, interest rates are pretty high. They're not an all-time high, but they're actually at normal prices, but because people saw 1.9 and 2.1, now they think 6 is high. But historically, 6 has been average.
Well, it's been low.
Right, yeah. So it's an interesting narrative to see. And listings are going like crazy. I just saw something that said Florida is the #1 state people are moving out of so far this year. You know, there was a big exodus from California and New York, and they ended up in Texas and Florida. But a boatload of people are listing their house in Florida and trying to get out. I think the listings have increased by like 18%, right? That's like 1 in 5. That's insane amounts of people trying to sell their house.
Well, there's been a long period of time where people have not been listing their houses as well, for reluctancy reasons. But I think people are at the point where they're kind of over that. They're not waiting any longer. There's people need to move, and it's just the average person, 99, 96 percenters, they they need to buy and sell. They don't know how to buy and hold. They don't know how to keep it, and they don't know how to buy another house. And then they move for different reasons, work reasons, and of course, not many people can move just because the weather's bad, right? They have children in school and that sort of thing. So there's an increase even in this population. Like up here, uh, there is not 25 homes on the market, and in one day, a month ago, 25 homes went on the market, right? It was the spring, it was people are ready to sell their damn house. They've been waiting too long, for whatever reason. And, they want to downsize, or they do want to move or retire, or finally they left the town, and they finally do have to sell because it's time to sell their house and get their money so they can use the money from the house. So it happened here too, and this is a small town. I mean, there's a housing shortage in this town without a doubt, given the university and stuff. But so I think that's pretty common across the states. I don't doubt that Florida is one of the states that people are moving out of. I don't know what the reason would be. Um, it could be insurance. It could be, I don't really know. But not the entire state is in a flood zone either, to a degree. But
Right, but a lot of insurance companies have either reduced their coverage or canceled coverage in Florida. So yeah, that's
what
one
I
thing
know.
to think about is insurance on your line item of is this a good deal or not? Is insurance. So maybe we talk about that for a minute. Have you had to make a lot of homeowners claims in the past before, or scrutinized your insurance policy?
Say that again.
Have you had to use your homeowner's insurance or something, or like shopped around for policies and found a good one versus a bad one? You ever had to deal with insurance before?
Yeah, I have. I've had to use it at my primary as well as my most of the time. So I have an agent. I have two actually, that I use specifically all the time for any flips, any buy and holds, whatever. And they're Johnny on the spot. They can get it done in same day, and I just trust they shop it for me, and they use certain specific agencies, companies rather, that are pretty common for fix and flip and buy and hold. And then I change it around for primary. We shop it around. I bundle it with, a lot of times, my autos and stuff. So anyway, but I've had to use it, and it works. But for my fix and flips, I rarely ever use it. I've only had to use it once in catastrophe. Really, you don't want to use your insurance for fix and flips. For buy and holds, generally speaking, I don't use it unless it's something huge. I am using it on my commercial building. I got to put a new roof on. That roof is 30 grand. So I am using my insurance for that, and it covered it. Um, And typically the company that's fixing it will go through the insurance for you. So those types of things I think they expect to pay for. So I don't think it affects your rate. Yeah, I would definitely check your insurance every year, every 2 years max. I do it all the time. I actually have my two brokers don't even know each other and they compete against each other all the time without even knowing it. Um, but yeah, but
I'm curious. I'm curious, Bill and Michael. What's the target market for this E3 event? What's the ideal client? Have you come up with that candidate for the
Uh,
event E3?
yeah, usually it's going to be real estate agents that were sold a lie and then they realized it. Those are like the most coachable people I found. The next group is going to be construction. Either, foreman or they've been around for a while and they realize I'm not getting ahead doing this. Um, and they've been around, so they absolutely love real estate investing. And then the other one I've seen is accountants and tax preparers. So agents, construction, and people working in the tax world. Because they get it. There's no convincing. They just didn't find a good enough company yet. And then they see Renatus and they're like, I'm in. So any any other observations you want to add to that, Bill? About the kind of people that like to join?
well, I think the people that I like are people that have regular jobs. You know, they are um so there are a lot of people that listen to Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, and rightfully so. I mean, I think it's, for the majority of people, it is 100% valuable information, understanding finance and debt, and unfortunately, they're extreme when it comes to leverage. They use a little fear for people to buy their stuff naturally, um, and they know people in general, if they're given an inch, they'll take a mile. So, when you listen to Dave and now his children, uh, that have taken over, when people are like, oh, I want to buy this, I don't have any debt except my house, I want to buy a rental. He knows that people will get in trouble just because they don't have a lot of experience or knowledge. So they'll go back into their old habits. So he really wants people to, before they even buy a rental, to pay off their primary mortgage, right? A HELOC is a devil's tool, right, to them. But my point is that all of these people are looking to get ahead and they have the ability. Most people don't know what to do, so the first person that gets in touch with them and sells them a bill of goods is going to be the winner, right? And so until they realize it didn't work or it's not right or whatever the case is. So, but they had the means and they had the drive to take some things in their own control, right? They're stuck in a job. They know they're going to retire. They want to increase retirement. They have kids, and they have good jobs. They have dual income. They have a house. They have responsibility, and that's a lot of the middle class. It's even some of the blue collar class, right? So they're not day to day. They're not construction workers necessarily that are, just if they make money, those guys are just make it or break it. They're either broke or they have so much money they're buying everybody drinks and new cars and trucks and all that stuff. They just don't have any education at all, and they don't understand that it's not going to last, right? So they're just never taught that way. They probably grew up that way. I mean, they watched it for generations happen, and they and until they're 50 or 60, even 70, they just assume they're going to work forever. Uh, but so I like those people that have the means, and typically they're not 20 or 30, they're 30 to 50. Uh, and they are established. They have credit, they have debt, and they want to replace some of their debt. They also want to buy a property. They're looking to have a rental, or to even do a fix and flip. And they have the means to do it. They just don't know where they should go to get it done. I like that demographic. Tamara has a couple questions, and then we'll also talk about this topic. Go ahead. I have some questions. What is it, Tamara?
So I have a couple. So I was curious to know, I was listening to maybe Umair's class, and he brought up something about insurance, about that he says he doesn't pay for insurance. Instead, he creates a new account and money every month goes into that account for insurance. So that way he can control the money versus the insurance company. One, I'm curious what you think about that. And then, because if you think about how much money you actually that goes towards insurance versus just you dish out every month. And then my other question is about my lease options. Like, where I'm doing them is kind of the middle. It's essentially the middle of nowhere. So my goal isn't to make them sexy. It wouldn't, like, I'm not making them the top of the line. I'm making them safe. I'm making them, I make sure all the key factors, the roof, are all in check and in good shape. So they're not going to, I think that came from Chris's class. So they're not going to have to have any the goal is so they make sure they don't have any major repairs, but I don't make them sexy or anything, in the next foreseeable future. That being said, I have this tenant that is complaining. I didn't catch it, but I guess the central air is a little bit on its way out, and I'm not planning on replacing that. I bought them a splint, like a splint to replace in the house, but I guess he's kind of complaining about the house a little bit, and I'm pretty clear in my leases what I do and do offer. I say do your own due diligence. It's as is. So, obviously the time to complain is when they're signing the lease or to do but most people, here's the challenge that I'm finding, is most people don't do their due diligence.
So in a court of law, you're going to know this. Any major repairs over $500 on any major system covered by the seller.
Oh, yeah, it's me. Yeah.
On a lease option. So if something costs more than $500 or it's a major system, you need to cover it. Or it will, if you ever went to court, it will look like it's an owner item, and therefore there's already ownership given to the buyer, right? If they're covering all those things, they're going to see them as the owner, and they're going to win.
He's not covering. He hasn't even told me about it. I just found out recently. But with central air, like, is that something? I don't know anything honestly about central air. Like, can I just put?
It's a heating and cooling system.
So I don't. So can I just put splints in there? Sorry.
Splint is what?
It provides heat and air.
Yeah, it's an HVAC system. So it's heat and AC. So so there's a condenser, and then there's a I can't think of the term. Anyway,
the question you need to ask, is it adequate? Can it handle the heat extremes? If you're up north, you got to have a good heat source. If you're down in California, you get away with it.
He's in the South. The thing is, it went from having there was a couple, and I never had any complaints about the central air system because they didn't use the air as much.
It's service, and typically I would have my lease option tenants service it, where it's serviced every year. They come out, they service it, they check the Freon for the AC, they check the heating ducts, and they check the filters. It's important that your tenants, and I provide them a lot of times, change the filters every month or every 2 months max, and you provide the filters for them to do so. I'll tell you about home warranties. I just don't believe in them. I think they're a waste of money, in my opinion. I do one thing with a home warranty if I do it. So home warranties, if I will pay for a home warranty, typically this is for tenants, not for lease options though. This is just for tenants. I'll pay for the home warranty and put the home warranty in their name. Then they make the call to the home warranty company, and anything the home warranty company doesn't cover, I will pay for if it's an issue that needs to be resolved. But they pay for the service call. So if there's a toilet issue or leaky this or leaky that or whatever it is, a door problem, any issue, they're going to call the service company first. They're going to come out. They're going to pay the service fee. It's in their contract. It's in my lease. And then that is the first call they make, not to me. And then the service company will let them know what they're going to cover. And then they will call me and say, hey, they're not going to cover this. And then I will determine whether or not I want to have it done or do it myself and have one of my guys do it. Right. But they do all the legwork for me. The tenant does. And if the service company, the home warranty covers it, then I don't even ever know about it. So that's a choice. It's kind of a pain in the ass and you rarely ever use it. I just don't think home warranties are necessarily worth it unless you're really good at keeping on top of it and you've specifically picked the items in the home warranty that you're willing to pay for that, and you understand what is actually covered and why and how. They won't cover things if things are done improperly, right? If they come out to service the air conditioner and they look at an air filter and they take pictures of it and it hasn't been changed in 6 months, that's going to cause the condensation problem and the leak in the garage or in what would be the overhead central air area. And because it can't condensate, it's going to work too hard and it's going to break the motor. If those filters don't get changed, then they won't cover it because it's user error. So anyway, that's my take on home warranties. To answer your question is I
A
would
technical tip, make sure you check the coils inside the furnace. They clog up like the filter does, but nobody ever checks them. It cuts way down your airflow. I lost a motor that way.
yeah. So if you have
Firehead.
it serviced, then that will be checked. So I would just have your whole unit serviced by a professional HVAC guy. It costs $200-300 and have them service it and let you know. And then if there's an air circulation problem or a lack of freon, or like he said, if the coils are bad or whatever it is, they will let you know that, and that will probably solve the problem versus getting a whole new unit.
So get I thought I did, I thought I did have my contractor go in there, but he didn't do it right. So
Have an HVAC company, which is a subcontractor, go out and service the service the unit. If you're
gotcha.
having
Yeah.
have it serviced. A lot of
Yeah.
times they do it for $100. Oh, we'll go do a free estimate on, and then they want to sell you a bunch of stuff.
Got it. And I pay for that service charge, right?
Well, I mean, you could argue it, but you might as well just pay for it and make the tenant happy. I mean, if there's
Yeah,
a lease, if they're a lease option tenant,
yeah.
you could just pay for it or offer to split it, see what they say.
Yeah.
Listen, when we get it serviced, we'll both pay half of it to have it fully serviced. If there's anything major wrong, I'll pay for it.
Well, I bought them a splint. That was part of me not dealing with this.
Why do you call it a splint?
I thought that was what it's called. It does both heat and air.
I'll have to look it up. I've never heard of that term. That's weird. It must be an Eastern term.
It might be a heat pump system. Oh, the heat pump.
You bought a whole new heat pump?
No, I don't think so. I have to look it up. A split. A split system.
You bought a mini split?
Yeah.
Oh, did you have it installed?
No.
Well, it's probably depending on your area. I mean, my guys will put in a mini split for maybe $500. That's a major install. Where did you buy a used one? What did you buy? A Mitsubishi? You bought a full mini split system? They're only good for one room, like 400 feet.
I did a lot of research before I bought it. I bought one that will cover more than one room. It'll cover it'll cover more than
2 rooms is 400 feet. Most rooms are 200 feet unless it's a living room. Where are you putting it?
I don't know. This guy didn't voice any of this until recently. I probably bought that like a year
Like I
ago.
just built a house that's an Airbnb and the unit was okay, but the circulation was bad. I turned it into a 3 bedroom, 2 bath from a 4 bedroom, and it's a luxury property. So I put the mini split in the master bedroom because I have 2 master walk-in closets, a full bathroom. So it's like a 200 square foot master bedroom, which is 20 by 20. That's a big master bedroom. So there I put in a mini split, right? But that's a $2,000 item. You know what I mean? When you put it, it used to be 1,200. Now it's about 1,800, 1,600, depending on which one you buy, and your guy installing it, right? That's a full heater. It mounts on the wall. It condensates out the wall, and it's hooked to either gas or electric.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
remote control. It's for one room.
I'd have
Or
to
for
look
living room
up what I
dining room.
bought.
Like my mom has them up. Nobody has air conditioners up here. My mom has 3 mini splits in her house, and she has to shut the doors to all the rooms that she wants the mini splits to work. I mean, otherwise it's just a waste of air because it's going out into all the other rooms, and it's not made for more than 1 or 2 rooms. A mini split's a whole different animal. You should have the air conditioner, the central air checked.
Yeah, I have to get an HVAC guy.
Okay, your other question on insurance. I have no idea what Umair is talking about. And sometimes I question what Umair talks about just because he's basing it on what it has nothing to do. First of all, if you have a lien on a property, you have to have insurance, and the lien holder is additionally insured. If he's paying cash for $6,000 houses and turning them into $40,000 houses, and the house burns down and he has no insurance but a bunch of money in a bank, he's screwed. He's going to have to
No, I
replace it.
think his Bill, he's talking about it, at his mobile home park.
I
So, which
understand.
I can see
No,
that because yeah.
If you buy a $10,000 trailer and fix it up into a $20,000
Mhm.
trailer, and it's fixed to the ground and the thing burns down, you're out 20 grand. It's like not having insurance on your car. It doesn't even make any sense to me.
to have
Unless you
insurance,
really
not have
think things aren't
insurance.
going to happen. But if you own a house in any other state, in any other area that's a rental, you're going to want to have insurance. Any major flooding, any major damage, your hot water heaters break all the time, and and you don't even notice them. They happen when you're not home or when you're in bed, and they break, and then they burst all over, and then it leaks into all places, and you've got to have it remedied. It's a $5,000 ordeal. If you don't have insurance, then you're paying for that. I don't see the point in not having insurance. And if you have a lien on a property, even if it's a private, if I'm lending you money, I want to be insured by the insurance company. If I have a lien on your property, I'm additionally insured. First, you insure yourself, and then you insure the lender so that the lender is paid off. And then the rest of the money goes to when you have a complete disaster. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't even know what he's talking about.
I think it was his trailer parks. I was just I'm
Of
okay.
course,
Well, I'm
it's
glad I
the
brought it
only
up.
thing he owns is trailer parks, and you're talking about. But if some of them are worth $20,000 or $30,000 and one burns down, I mean, you have absolutely ignorant people living there. I don't mean dumb, I don't mean slow, right? But they don't even change. I mean, you know how many tenants in lower income take the smoke detectors off the wall because they don't want to change the fucking batteries?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. My higher end tenants in most of my houses, they're higher end. They actually go out and buy carbon monoxide and stick them in there. They
You don't
buy,
like the beep over and over, just beeping constantly? That's not a thing for you?
yeah, that too. Well, I'll get a call from the police. Your alarm's going off. I'm like, I don't have an alarm. And I'm like, oh, it's the fire detectors because they won't
Oh
change the
man.
battery because they don't have a ladder.
I'm lucky. I got mine hardwired, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well,
People just
no,
let
but all
things beep.
firewires have a backup battery system. And if one goes bad, they all beep until you change the batteries in all of them.
Huh.
Yeah, they all
Good
have
to
all
know.
hardwired to have a backup battery. They all do. They have to. Because if the power goes out, you still need to know if there's a fire.
Yeah.
So they don't make them without it. But
Learning every day.
I'll go turn over a unit after 2 years of someone living there, and they put in carbon. Those things are $70 for now. That's one thing that's been affected by COVID. Those things used to be $20. A regular smoke detector was $7. Now a regular smoke detector is 29, and a CO2 one with smoke and carbon is like $70, hardwired and batteried. But they'll put them in because they don't want to die, and they're smart. They're not smarter than the other people. They're more informed, and they know that they should spend money on things like carbon monoxide testers, especially when there's gas in the house. Anyway, and even then, it's not even if there's no gas, it's still a thing from all the appliances and all of our mini appliances and all that crap. There's all kinds of gases that are just out there in general. Anyway, so I don't know. Insurance is up to you. It's a choice. It's not a law. But no lender, whether it's primary bank, conventional lender, or a hard money lender, is ever going to give you a loan without being insured. In fact, they will send you a notice that says if you don't pay your insurance or put it up or renew it, they're going to buy it for you. And generally speaking, it's twice as much. So you only can have no insurance and do it yourself if you have paid cash for properties. And then again, especially, I mean, if you think about it, the possibility for flooding and fire, which are the two major things, they ruin houses entirely. I don't know why you'd want to replace a whole trailer by yourself. I would just insure it. At the very least, you just get the least amount of insurance, like most people do when they buy a car. They just have, liability. So if they cause a problem, just the minimum insurance that to be a legal driver. Anyway, yeah, that's my take. Self-insured is wealthy gain with high interest accounts. Right on. All right, great questions. I don't know if I answered your question, but I would definitely, Tamara, I would figure out what you're doing with that split mini. Those are valuable items, but they're costly, and there's got to be they're not going to replace the whole HVAC system. Everybody in Arizona, you got to get your HVAC checked every year.
So what would be an alternative? What would be an alternative if I don't want to replace the central air? Do I just get wall? What are those window?
You get window units when you can't put in central air. Tamara, you want to replace the air conditioner.
Gonna keep everything clean and no moisture buildup.
Yeah, people are paying for a central air system. It's the best system out there. And like Pete was saying, a heat pack. I'm sorry, not a heat pack. God darn it.
The heat pump or the furnace coils.
Yeah, the heat pump systems that have heat and air, those dual systems are great. They're in all my houses.
What is it? Dual what?
It's just a heat pump system. It means it has heat and AC. It's not just an air conditioner unit, and it's not just a furnace. It's two of the same. So like right over here in my utility room back there is a dual system. The condenser.
Yeah, in the long run, it's going to be it's going to keep your house drier on the inside, which will prevent rot and mold and all these other things. It's definitely going to be worth that investment. And there's a lot of HVAC companies out there that will, they give a 5 or 10 year warranty on their product, parts and labor, and they also offer a 5-year payment plan.
Yeah,
so
you gotta replace it. And most of the time, it's not the entire unit. It's probably just something that needs to be fixed. It could be the condenser motor for the HVAC. That's outside. There's condenser motors, fan motors. There's heat pack. There's like a bunch of different motors and units inside there. They don't all go bad at the same time unless it's 20 years old. If it's 20 years old and it's been used in an area where they don't change the filters or you got all that humidity, then it could have gone bad and you've got to replace it. I mean, you're selling the house. It's a house.
Well, I had it checked when I bought it, and it was
You had it checked by an inspector?
No, I had it checked by my contractor. So that was my mistake. He said it has a couple years left. It just needs to keep up with the maintenance of it. So I
So
started
that's-
doing that.
Find out.
So what? Yeah, fine.
Until they buy the house from you, you're responsible for it if it goes bad in a couple of years. They don't pay for that.
Yeah. So yeah.
They
So
don't pay
sorry.
for it until they buy the house.
Yeah.
They close on the option. The option is an option to buy the house. The lease is still a lease. They're still a tenant. They're not an owner buyer like a rent to own.
Yeah, he said he sent me a text that said I had to pay $300 for a real technician to come out and look the central air that is going to cost over $7,000 to get fixed because your handyman didn't do his job last time.
Nice.
So I don't know what that means. I mean,
I would get your own guy to come out and look and let you
yeah,
know.
that's what I'm gonna
He'll
do.
tell you what it means. But most
So
likely,
$7,000 is reasonable. Mine for my big cabin out here, I just spent 17. So 7 is a good deal, dude.
yeah, it's probably a 3-ton unit.
Mine is a
And-
5-ton
Sorry.
unit.
You just froze. You just
Yeah,
froze.
yours
Sorry,
is
what did you
5.
say? $7,000 is reasonable?
$7,000 is a deal. I just paid 17,000
Yeah, because as
for
a
mine.
5-ton heat pack, you probably had to do the whole thing.
Yeah, and I went from those stupid flexi cables to hard, square channels, ducting.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
So
the option is up in like 3 months.
do you want them to execute on it?
I do. What if I just negotiated taking out of the purchase price?
Well, everything's negotiable. Yeah.
Yeah, you say meet me halfway. I'll take 3,500 off the end price, and you put the other 3,500 in, however you need to, your credit or whatever, and fix the thing, and everybody wins. You're not
Yeah, you
out.
call the bluff and just say, you know what? I'm not fixing it. If you want to execute, do it. If you don't, you're going to lose your down payment, your option fee, and then I'll replace it with that. Whatever you want.
This is why I need to consult with Bill before I play the landlord role.
Yep.
It's the fourth core belief. It's your loss if you say no.
I'm too soft to be a landlord. My property manager tells me that all the time.
Yeah. Well, you could blame it on somebody else.
Yeah, I do. I make up I have a partner and I say my partner's that's been actually working for me. My partner's really strict on this, so I can't it actually has worked.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm way too flexible about things.
I remember Umair saying that when people would call because they were behind and they were asking for more time, he goes, sorry, the system just automatically starts to process an eviction. And when they hear that the system automatically does it, then they comply. They get in line. And then I asked him about his system. He goes, yeah, it's me hitting a button that says start eviction. So yeah, don't let them. I like Bill saying, call their bluff. If they've been great, they really want to buy the house. It's one of the things that comes with home ownership. He's just trying to get some last minute. Maybe, I don't know. I wasn't there at the inspection. How long has he been there? Check motivations, but somewhere between call their bluff and meet them halfway.
So the other question I have is, again, this is where it comes in that I'm too flexible. So rent is due the 1st, and I don't think I'm going to put a grace period in anymore. He never pays on the 1st. He always utilizes the grace period, and it's always in before the 5th, but it's never in by the 1st because he's like, oh, well, it's not due till the 5th. So I need to change that. I want to change that moving forward. Or let me ask you this:
Do it with positive reward instead of a punishment. I remember hearing a couple of guys, I forget who said it, but they every month that they paid on time, they would get like a $20 Applebee's gift card or something like that. Or every quarter they would get something for paying on time. So reward for paying on time instead of punishment for paying late. Or actually have the combination of both. But
So First of all, I wouldn't do the grace period till the 5th. All of my contracts, all my leases are till the 3rd. I do have rent is due on the 1st by 5 p.m. Arizona time, and rent is late. It states rent is considered late 5 p.m. on the 3rd. I have depending on the cost of the rental, but I have at least a minimum of a $100 late fee, right? Plus $10 a day, which reverts back to the 1st if they are late on the 3rd. So automatically, if they pay on the 4th or 6 o'clock on the 3rd, they owe me $130. My higher end leases are $300 late fees, $250, $150, right? Even up to $500 late fee on like my $9,000 a month rent, right? And they have until the 3rd. Mortgages have until the 15th. When do I pay my mortgage? Whenever I feel like it, right? I like a grace period. I use it all the time, right? A lot of people get paid every 2 weeks. Things come up. So you give them a day or two grace period. But 5 days is a lot for rent. For mortgage, it's typically hard money mortgages are 10 days and conventional mortgages are 15 days before you get a late fee. Right? So I would reduce it to the 3 days, and I don't give anybody a reward except for the fact that I don't evict them if they pay on time. Right?
Oh, it was Bill Omi. I remember now. Bill Omi would do that, but of course it's a totally different demographic
But
market.
he's got people who are deciding on whether to pay rent or eat.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have any of those tenants. I don't. I mean, it's a whole different. I don't even. Yeah, if I had those tenants in Phoenix, they would all kill me. I would either be shooting up drugs with them, or I would be getting in gunfights with them because I just don't rent in those areas. I don't own in those areas. But Bill and Umair, they rent out in the rural sticks, and those people every month have to make a decision on what to use their money for. So it's different, but I just don't have those tenants. I don't want to entice people to pay me my rent. The enticement is that they have a house to live in, which is pretty much impossible to find in Phoenix. So, or the people that I have, they're paying for a nice house, and so they like it, and they have the money to pay for it, and they don't worry about that. So that's just what kind of landlord you want to be. All right, I'm going to go over something with you guys. We don't have a lot of time, but I'm just going to address it, and it's just an opinion. But I saw a post, and then I saw some comments, and my suggestion is, number one is I've been thinking about this with their marketing, and then it also relates to real estate. Is that anything and everything is a business, and there are the fact has always been that businesses fail because they're under financed, right? They're underfunded. They fail because of money and lack of capital to sustain, right? There's enough money to get started sometimes, or there'll be just enough money to open a door, and then there's not enough money allocated to marketing. There's no money there for hiccups, any type of setbacks. And I'm talking about whether it's a a rental is your business, right? You buy your first rental, but you buy it with your shoestrings, which I've done. And so every dollar counts. Their late rent, you've got to pay the mortgage. By the time they pay the rent, they don't pay the rent month, and you got no money to pay the mortgage, right? So you're counting on someone else to pay you to pay your mortgage, right? it's going to work for a little while, but the very first time someone gets in trouble, you're screwed, right? Let alone you don't have money for a home warranty. So you don't buy a home warranty. You're paying the minimum amount of insurance. You don't have time for the insurance to kick in. So then you can't fix the house. And then someone's got to go live in a freaking hotel that is basically going to be your coverage, right? Because you probably didn't have them have renter's insurance. If you'd have made them have renter's insurance, then if something happens to the house, that renter's insurance would pay for them to move into another hotel while it's being fixed, right? So all of these things are businesses. So my suggestion is even in marketing, right? You don't market because you were told or you thought that, you could just make a warm market list and call up your friends and family and have them join Renatus, right? So you don't have a marketing budget. So then you go to free advertisement, which you get free advertisement, you get what you pay for. The cheapest person out there looking for a job is going to call you up to get a business that costs 20 grand. Not going to happen, right? So now you're you're spending all your time with people that aren't qualified. So you don't spend any money on marketing because you have no money. You spend all your money joining, and you're definitely not going to borrow more money, right? That's not the way it works. There's an SBA loan program for a reason, right? There's government, there's government resources to facilitate businesses. There's tax benefits to facilitate businesses because businesses, right, create economy, right? So the world goes round when people borrow money, right? And then the world goes round when people spend money in a capitalist society. I don't know why, like, there's a commercial for where people bought a franchise from Domino's, and the guy's like, I think it was a girl, and she's like, oh, I quit my job and I took my entire life savings and bought a franchise, right? Because a Domino's franchise, I imagine, is a million plus. And you have to have your own resources for these major franchises to put. You can't borrow the down payment. You got to put down your down payment or have it family love money. And then you have to have reserves, and then you have to go to school, right? Because they don't want it to fail because they make a ton of money off an operating franchise, right? So it doesn't make sense to me why people would do this. And so the same thing goes. So number one, my point is consider your marketing business a marketing business, and you should fund it. You should fund it with some sort of resources. You should have business credit that you can use, 0% credit cards that you can use, or whatever it is. But many of those things are going to be on you, right? And or you get, I mean, if there's anything I ever learned from Dr. G, I'll never forget the way he funded his education. He did not borrow the money and promise to pay back 20 grand, right? He borrowed 20 grand from someone who came in and he said, when I learn how to do real estate, I'll give you 50% of the profits of the deals I did to get you $25,000 back. There was no time frame because he had no idea how soon that would be, right? So the person went all in on him for 20 grand, lent him the 20 grand. He got the education, started marketing, right? And he started doing real estate. And eventually he paid them off. In fact, they were so excited, they ended up being one of his lenders in his partnership. But she was someone that he knew for years. He counseled her in her marriage, and they went to church together and so on and so forth. So there was a love money relationship there. All right. One thing I want to share with you is I saw a post where someone went to the table and they decided what they should do, which is write a check at closing. There are circumstances that we don't know. And then I saw a bunch of posts, comments where, people are talking about integrity and paying back their lenders and giving them things that people promise, you know, uh, you know, keeping up your word where people trust you with their money. If you, in my opinion, if you're borrowing people's money and they're trusting you with their money, then you're doing it wrong. All right. You paid 20 grand to be educated in real estate and in money, in finance, right? And so my suggestion is maybe I need to watch the class and maybe it changed. But I don't think that the hard money lending class the private money lending class, the partnership and what is it? What's it called? Matt Sorensen's partnerships and
Raising private capital?
raising, yeah, whatever it is. Those classes do not say that you should personally guarantee anything. All right. If you're borrowing money from your brother or sister, your mom or your dad, write a personal guarantee, right? Most likely the people lending you the money that know you like that probably know you're not going to pay it back anyway, because you probably have a history of not paying them back, right? Or you pay them back not on time, right? You overpromise, underdeliver. Those people, you want to pay them back, right? So write them a promissory note and personally, their personal guarantee means they're not going to, they probably, your mom is probably not going to sue you when you don't pay her back. All right. Personally. So you won't have to file personal bankruptcy when you do it. If you sign a personal guarantee and you don't pay, and it's a significant amount of money, which could be $5,000, $10,000, it could be $100,000, right? And you're putting it into a business, marketing, real estate, whatever it is, and it goes bad. And then there's not enough money to cover the bill at the end of the day, and you personally guarantee it, they can personally sue you, right? So they can sue your business, and then they can sue you personally. And then they can take everything, right? Once you're in a court of law, the court's not going to make you sell your car because you got to have a way to go to work. But they are going to get a judgment. And when they get a judgment, right, and they get a win because you promised to pay them the money and you didn't pay them, and they get a win, then they can garnish your wages if you have a job. They can go after your checking accounts if you own a business, and then they can go after any personal liabilities or personal assets, right? Which could force you, the judge could force you to sell jewelry you have. The judge could force you. Now, they can't take your homestead out of your primary residence. They're not going to kick you out of your house. No judge is going to do that. But if you have an investment property, if you have an extra car, right? If you have a coin collection, anything of value, they could make you technically sell it or leverage it to pay these people back, right? So we don't personally guarantee any businesses because you can't predict, right? So if you don't personally guarantee, you company guarantee. When you borrow money on a promissory note, you promise to pay a certain amount of money back, principal, and a certain amount of money back in interest or some sort of fees, whatever it is. And then typically in real estate, it's secured by a piece of property. What you have to remember, in my opinion, is you are offering an opportunity that no one else is offering them, right? If people have the ability to make money themselves, they would not be giving it to somebody else to make them money. They're hoping that you or any other investment facility, whether it's a personal finance, what's the guy called, girl? A personal, you know what I mean?
Accountant?
Yeah, not an accountant, a financial planner.
Oh,
Right? You're paying somebody professionally that has more knowledge than you to go take your money and put it somewhere and hopefully make your money, right? Now, those people are licensed and all that stuff. None of those people sign a personal guarantee, but they're borrowing your money. They're taking your money and putting it somewhere. If it fails, nobody's paying you back, right? They're going to tell you, go all in, invest more money, wait longer, don't sell, right? Or they're going to say, yeah, sell now before it goes completely underwater, right? If you're worried about your losses, sell now, right? Then they get paid when you sell, even when they put you in the wrong investment or the investment they put you in went wrong, whether it was their fault or not, right? So these people, whether you know them from Renatus or not, are coming to you and they're asking you to put their money to work, right? Because you're making an offer, right? Now, you can't legally put it out there without a license being like, hey, I'm looking for money. I'm going to promise you 10%. You can't borrow money from people you don't know. So you got to know them, right? Otherwise, you violate SEC. So again, watch the class, right? There's certain ways you can raise private money. Most of the people we're borrowing money from, right? So there's no honesty or integrity, right? If you do things wrong, right? You've heard me say this before. There was a flip I did where I paid a guy 15 grand. He lent me money as a partner. I had an 8% interest and a 10% of net. The house lost a ton of money and he ended up losing 15 grand and I paid him. Why? Because it took twice as long and cost twice as much, not twice as much. It took longer than I said. I was the expert. It took more money than I thought to fix it. It sold for less than I thought it was going to sell for. And I struck out. Like it was a three-way loss on my end. And all of that was my responsibility. So I didn't owe them the money, but I made a decision. That's a difference, right? That's not like, oh, and the people that trust me with their money. That was a decision I made that I didn't have to make, right? I didn't go around telling anybody about it. I certainly didn't post about it, right? Understand that most people's posts that we're reading on Facebook are marketing reasons. They're not for us to sit there and comment and go, wow, you're such a good person. That's not why they're posting it, right? They're posting it so they can get more business, right? So I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to that are like, one of my people borrowed money, lost the money, and then these people called them up and said, you lost this person's money that I got for you, blah, 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 blah. You should take a lien against your house, your primary residence. You should take out a second lien, a second mortgage, a HELOC, and pay the people back. That's ridiculous, in my opinion, unless you promised it to them, unless you wrote it on your personal guaranteed promissory note that says, I will do everything I can to pay you back. There's no risk to that investor then. Basically, that investor is just like, here's my money. It's love money. You're going to pay me back no matter what. I don't care if the whole world goes under. I get all my money back plus interest plus your integrity, right? If they try to slander you, it's illegal. They can say, I lent Bill Predebon's company money, right? They didn't lend it to me, and the deal went bad and he didn't pay me back, right? That's fine. But if there's a promissory note and I promise to pay it back and the deal goes south, I still owe them the money. What's their recourse? Now, first of all, whatever I'm telling you right now, I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not licensed in anything. This is just my opinion and my experience, right? But we cannot set ourselves up for failure when it comes to borrowing money. You cannot put your family at risk or your own self personally at risk, in my opinion, so that you can make somebody else money, right? If you want to risk anything, risk your time, right? Your time is more valuable than money anyway. That's already the risk. Write that into the contract, reminding the person that you're borrowing money from that you're not personally guaranteeing it because you're personally guaranteeing your time, right? You're guaranteeing that you're going to do all the work and put in all the effort and take all the stress and try to make it work. And if it doesn't work, you know what I mean? Now, if you did borrow the money on a promissory note and not a partnership, right? And you put a lien on the property and you did all the right things and there's money short at the end of the day, it's all negotiable. Technically, you owe them all the money. And when I say you, I mean, hopefully you borrowed it from your company in your company's name. And if that's the case, then you have to figure out how to pay it back in the future, whatever the difference is, right? In Arizona, for example, if I borrow hard money from somebody and the house is upside down and it sells, and the hard money for lender, and that's why they no longer go to 100%. They barely even go to 90% anymore. They're almost always at 80, 85% max loan to value, right? So they know if you screw up, they're going to get the majority of their money back. If they don't, right, they could technically sue, right? There's no personal guarantees on hard money most of the time. Some companies have even implemented it, and I won't sign it unless the loan is so good that I know even if I fire sell the house, I'm never going to be short on what I owe the hard money lender, right? I'll take that risk. But most of the time I won't. I'll go to somebody else. I'll go to a different hard money lender, even if it costs me more money, so I don't sign a personal guarantee. But I still sign a business guarantee. So what can happen? If I don't pay them all the money, they could sue me. But they don't sue. They're just going to issue a 1099-C, a cancellation of debt, because it's not a state where they want to sue people. It costs too much money. Unless it's a business is involved, or it's a 2-acre parcel or more, it's a large commercial building or something like that, and it's a different type of investment. But if it's single family residence, multifamily residence, they're not going to sue for the difference. They're going to put a 1099, they're going to take the loss, put a 1099-C on your account. They're going to send it to you at the end of the year, and you're going to have to offset on your taxes. It's like you borrowed money and never paid it back. And it's only for the difference, right? Same thing with the people. Typically, if you're borrowing money from Michael lends you money, the deal goes south, and Michael's like, dude, I lent you 100 grand, you paid me 90, plus you didn't pay me interest, and you have a promissory note, and you owe me 30,000 bucks. You're going to be like, Michael, I'm going to write a new promissory note for 30 grand. I'm going to go do this other deal, or I'm going to put a lien on my car, and then I'm going to pay you back from my paycheck. Whatever it is you want to do, right? But there's no personal suit. Otherwise, you say, "Oh, all right, Michael, if you want your money tomorrow at the closing, where I'm not writing a check for $30,000 at closing, then sue my company." Right? I just won't sell the house. The house won't sell. You won't take a short on your loan, and we're all going to lose. Then you can sue my company, and I'll file bankruptcy on my company. It's going to cost me $500, and I'm out $500 and not 30 grand. And then you're out completely. You can no longer collect. And that's the way the real world works, right? I am not saying ever be integrous. If you commit some sort of unintegrity type deal and you commit fraud, you commit your erroneous in the way that you did your business, and you borrowed the money and spent some money here where you shouldn't have spent money and things like that, then you better figure out a way to pay the people back, right? But if you do everything right and you do what you say and the deal goes south, then negotiate with them and figure out how to pay them back. Hopefully you're going to pay them back eventually, but you don't owe anybody money. There's no honesty and there's no integrity, right? It's a business contract, right? And if they signed it, then it was good enough for them to take a risk. Everything we do in life has risk to it. There's a risk and a reward. Whether it's our time, any resource we have has value, right? And every time you and I put time and money into anything, not just money, but time, knowledge, right? We spent money on knowledge, even if we weren't that smart and we didn't study it very well and we still screwed it up. They trusted us, right? But they trusted us based on their due diligence, right? There's no guarantee on anything. If you're personally guaranteeing anything, it's crazy. I will lend you all of my money, right? Because I know that you will sell your house and your children in order to pay me back, which doesn't make sense. There's not a class in Renatus that I am aware of that tells you to do this, right? It tells you to borrow smart, right? And in fact, it tells the borrower, the lender, to beware. That's why lenders have policies. That's why they even put policies in place, government policies in place for people to lend in a certain way, right? That's why hard money lenders won't lend on primary residences. They don't want that risk, right? They're not going to lend personally because there's too much protection for the consumer on a primary residence. They only want to lend on assets they can foreclose on very quickly with an accelerated foreclosure clause. That's why my hard money lenders will not lend on personal cars and stuff, right? They're not in the business of repossessing cars and then selling off the car and then going after the person for the difference, right? And that's why you're going to get a 50% car loan and not an 80% car loan, because car loans depreciate. Cars can get wrecked. People can steal stuff off a car, right? It's a whole different, it's not a very good asset, right? Unless they're lending it to a multimillionaire with a freaking Phantom Rolls, right? Then it's something that's going to hold its value. So they might lend 75% on a Phantom. But if you got a Chevy freaking Corsica or whatever the heck it's called, then they're going to lend you 50% at max on a late model. If it's 10 years old, they're not even lending against it. So anyway, I don't even know why I'm wasting our time on this, but it's not a waste of time. If you look at Steve Nomura, and you've heard me say this a million times, he spent a lot of time understanding finance and understanding what it takes to borrow and what lenders' criteria are, right? And then he caters to those lenders and understand there's a way to borrow money. Study the class. Like there's a right way to borrow it, and we can raise money from anybody, right? As long as we know them or we know the person that knows them and they were introduced to us and so on and forth down the line, right? There are probably certain ways that we can get away with, but I'm telling you, if you lose money and you just put, and someone follows the chain and you put an ad on, a post on Facebook that says you're borrowing money at 10%, guaranteed, secured by a piece of property, and some Facebook person of a friend of a friend of a friend that you have never met in your life lends you money and you lose their money and they actually end up suing you, you will breach the corporate veil, number one, and number two, you will violate SEC and FTC, and you could go to jail, at the very least get fined, right? And you will be paying restitution because you can't borrow money that way without a license, right? So in any way, shape, or form, signs or otherwise that you're doing to people you don't know. Now, but anyway, my point is that people especially people in Renatus, have the ability to learn how to lend money. If they choose to trust somebody with their money, that is on them. That is not on you. Now, if you sit there and lie to them and blow smoke up their butt and say all these things that you know you can't perform on, then that's on you. You know what I mean? I don't know how well you're going to sleep at night if you lose their money because you promised them things you could never deliver. Right? But if they want to buy your bullshit, so be it. If you're a good bullshitter and that's what you do and that's how you borrow money and then you don't pay it back, that's going to be your reputation. But if you do it right, you can get away with it. And there's nothing illegal about it because they lent you money to your company that you can bankrupt if they ever sue you. Right? But you're going to get a bad reputation and you're going to have to live with yourself. But we don't do that in Renatus. But the other thing I don't believe we should have to do to Renatus is that we should be responsible for everybody's money no matter what happens. Right? So I just want you to be aware of things that you read and see don't always mean what it you don't even know what the poster meant, right? If someone posts that they came to closing at the table, there's a circumstance behind it and a reason behind it that we're not aware of, right? The whole situation. And then I just find it interesting that, you know, people are like live and die by the sword of which they're borrowing money. I recommend you get into another business if you're going to, you know, risk your whole. You can recover from business losses, right? You can learn to move forward. You can learn from your mistakes. You can borrow money again. You can create opportunities again with more education and the right people surrounding you. And then you can pay people back, right? You can renegotiate losses and you can pay them back. You can put them in another deal. You can go to work on another deal with somebody else's money and then promise to pay part of that money back to them until you pay them back, whatever it is. You owe the money. You did a promissory note and not a partnership. But if you put yourself in debtor's jail, which in reality there is none, right? But if you put yourself in debtor's jail, right, the people around you that trust, that believe in you, your family and your friends, right, they will no longer support you taking risks. You will be gun shy, right? And you will be paying back that debt forever, right? You will cripple yourself and your company. And that's not the way businesses operate. Businesses operate in the world of capitalism operates on borrowing and spending money, right? But we borrow it smart. We don't over leverage, right? We don't borrow money on deals that we're not even sure of. There's a difference, right? And that's where studying the education makes sense. But anyway, I hope that made sense. I don't know if I, you know, I'm able to get the point across. If I was coaching you, I'd be a little bit more less subtle. But all right.
Awesome. Love it. Yep. Just so you know, Uncle Bill is watching, folks. Love it. Okay, well, thanks everyone for participating today in our Takeoff Tuesday. Tamara, thanks for sharing some of your questions. It helped other people get some clarity. And Eric and everybody else helping with promotion stuff. Jasmine, thanks for helping run the channel. Gilda, Doug, everybody participating. Remember, folks, new people, when you enroll them, send them to the call here. We create realestateinvestors.com/news. Let's go make a difference for people. Stay focused, follow good principles, and you will get the benefits. Awesome. All right, everybody. Appreciate you. Thanks, Bill. Have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great Tuesday.